Examine this. We're going to use this today. Do you know why? Because I saw a bad movie, and we're going to cut this movie up. That's what I always say to myself when I watch a bad movie. I'm always like, cut this sucker up, you know. Cut it from the inside out and just look at all the bad stuff we got here. So I'll try to do this as spoiler-free as possible, but today I saw A Good Day to Die Hard. It's a good day for Fox to say, you know what? Let's think a little bit before we do Die Hard 6. And to tell you the truth, though, I'm totally open to a Die Hard 6. Just don't do it like they just did Die Hard 5. Please, God, no. It would be, oh, I don't know. It would be like Atlas Shrugged Part 34 or something. I don't know. I haven't even seen Atlas Shrugged Part 1. But yeah, this, we're going to use this tool right here. Comes, yeah, complimentary with that, so yes, this is an opportunity to bring in this new weapon of mine. So you can tell I've kind of used it a lot lately. I don't know, I've been watching a lot of bad movies lately. So, right now we're going to talk about Die Hard. Okay, as far as other reviews of Die Hard movies go, I have not seen, believe it or not, it's been out for 6 years, I have not, to this day, seen Live Free or Die Hard, because it's just never interested me, and I've never had the opportunity to sit down and watch it. I have seen the other 3 films, though, like 4, I guess you could say now. And the original trilogy is definitely something that's worth looking into, but I just didn't have enough time to review them all before Die Hard 5 hit the scene, so we're just going to have to go with this. But I'll quick run them down. The first one I thought was absolutely fantastic, had a great villain and a hero that was tremendous as well. And it had a lot of good supporting characters. Some of them they brought back in the sequel, and then we never saw again. And then the sequel itself I thought was good, but not great. And then the third one I thought was kind of a rebound back from that, and kind of had the happy mediums from both films. And I really liked Samuel L. Jackson in that movie. I thought he was good. And I thought Bruce Willis brought a good performance as well. So now we'll talk about Die Hard 5. Okay, Die Hard 5, also known as A Good Day to Die Hard. I thought, well, maybe the title's just gonna, I don't know what I was thinking. That should have set the tone for the whole movie. A Good Day to Die Hard. Oh, come on. At least Lethal Weapon had Lethal Weapon 2, 3, 4. Not freaking, what would it be? I don't know. Maybe Registered Lethal Weapon, or Return of Lethal Weapon, or Lethal Weapons, add an S to the end there or something stupid like that. It's like Die Hard 2, Die Harder sometimes, you see. And then there's Die Hard with a Vengeance, which kind of, you know, it's kind of out there for a title. And then there's Live Free or Die Hard, which is ridiculous. And then there's A Good Day to Die Hard. I mean, how more unoriginal can these titles become? I mean, are they trying to hide the fact that these are sequels? Wouldn't that rather just bump up their bankability? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. Okay, enough of the title. The title can have its own review to this film. And this is a film I think I'm going to have to review later, because even though I just saw this, a lot of the first third of the film was a blur, because I was so focused on the end of the film, on its badness. So yeah, I'm just going to stick with that'll be the freshest, but I'll you know, as I'm doing this review live, of course, I don't have any notes to look off of, so yeah, I'll try to, you know, remember as much as I can from the first act. But basically, the story is John McClane's son has been captured in Russia, and John McClane has to come in and save him. Okay, that's about the basic story. You could wrap up the basic story for the first few Die Hards in about the same amount of time. John McClane comes over to LA to see his wife, but the terrorists take over the building, and now he has to save everybody. Same with Die Hard 2. He's waiting for his wife at the airport, but then terrorists take it over and want the world's biggest drug dealer to be broken free. Same with Die Hard 3. Terrorist comes to New York, and it's up to John McClane to follow his instructions to save the city and stuff like that. They're so basic that, in a way, they're more fun and more professional that way, but that's about it. I can't think of any particular strengths or weaknesses in this film as far as story goes, because basically there was no story. And that's, if you've read any reviews, that's just in one ear out the other, because that's all that that I've been looking at a few reviews, and a lot of them have just been saying the same thing over and over and over again, which is there's no story, the action is too repetitive, the acting is non-existent, Bruce Willis is too old, this Jay Courtney guy doesn't do all that great a job, which I agree with. The cinematography is too shaky, for sure, yeah. And if you know anything about me, shaky photography is like, it's like the scab that'll never go away to me. It's so annoying that you just want to puncture it every time you see it, and it pisses me off so much that I just want to chuck this sword right in the freaking thing. I swear to God, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so as far as that goes, yeah, I'm not a fan of the shaky photography. I'm also really gonna hope I didn't break this. Yeah, first time I use it, that would have been a great day for the sword to die hard. I'm just gonna put it down before I do anything else. I'm like John McClane in Buildings with this stupid thing. That's funnier than anything in the movie right there, I can tell you that. Okay, let's just... I'm trying not to shake too much with my hands or anything. I don't have Parkinson's or something, which is a bad joke. Sorry, Michael. Sorry. Okay. Now that we've completely distracted from the point, let's start over here. So at the beginning of the film, basically what I just said, John McClane Jr. is captured and John McClane has to come in and save him. We don't get anything out of John. His introduction is so lazy. And that kind of sums up about the last act of the film, as far as writing, as far as action, as far as everything goes. It's like they completely said, nah, frick it, we're just going to rely on the audience sleeping through the last half hour or something like that. It's so non-thought-provoking, no thought involved, anything you could think of as far as them putting thought in. They didn't do. They didn't try. It's kind of offensive, kind of, because the first Die Hard was a little bit of a thinker's movie. John McClane had to think his way out of every situation. He had to think back to fight against the terrorists as they tried to take out the police and everything. The second movie, kind of the same thing. The third movie, the same thing. He made them think all the time. Here, all they do is shoot. All they do is shoot and run, and shoot and run, and chase and shoot, and more shooting. And just on the side, just a tiny bit more shooting. And a couple more ricochets off that. Seriously. I mean, the Wild Bunch, like, for the time of its release, set a record for the most squibs or whatever. You know, so many fake bullets going off and, you know, and all that. This was ridiculous. To the point, actually, where part of this, as far as the dialogue that McClane speaks, could have been an SNL skit. I mean, he says the word Jesus more time than he uses the F word in this film, which is the first time I think that's ever happened in Die Hard history. I think it's really, this is such an unoriginal movie. There's no thought put into this. Like, at all. It's kind of hard, actually, and it's sad to see that the series is kind of degenerated to this point. And if they do a Die Hard 6, then I really hope they come back with a story. I hope they because evidently the problem with this film, number one, was they didn't take any rules from Die Hard and put them in. I mean, with the exception of maybe one thing at the end that I don't want to reveal yet, because if you seriously just want to go in, watch this movie, and have fun, I shouldn't spoil anything, but it won't matter anyways, but I'd rather you just sit down and have a good time and not have to worry about, oh, he was right, look at that, you know, and all that. I'll talk about certain scenes, but I won't reveal any plot details, because I know there are people that I've talked to that said, yeah, I'd like to see that. And as far as the reviews, what I read before I went in, I felt so... I mean, they felt so cruel that I said, oh, come on, it can't be that bad. They're just overreacting because it was fresh off like Side Effects or something, which I saw as well. And I did a review for that in Silver Linings Playbook, but for some reason it didn't match up very well, so I have to redo those reviews as well as do the first take of this one. And by the way, this is all first take. This is live. I'm not scripted or anything, just in case you forgot that. Because the movie kind of forgot what it was too, which is what I'm going to get into now. The tone of the film. It started out as kind of this Jarhead meets Lethal Weapon meets stuff where you do a million car flips a few car explosions and stuff like that. And then there is such a logical error here. I mean, this is a glaring logical error. This is screenwriting 101. That they should have noticed. Number one, they should have noticed this. Number one, when they were writing the script. Number two, when they were supervising the script before shoot. Number three, when they were shooting the scene. Number four, when they were editing the scene. And number five, when they were advertising the scene. Okay, so we have this part where 3 cars are coming up to a courthouse or something. It's one of the most guarded courthouses or whatever. They have a stop, they have a checkpoint there. And they have a metal thing. They run under the car to make sure there's no bombs with it or something. So yeah, the attendant, whatever, checks it out, says, okay, they're clear, and they let them go through. And then just a few seconds later, the cars explode from bombs. Are you serious? Are you serious? I mean, this isn't spoiling anything by no means, no. You'll figure it out. Like the second the scene comes up, you'll know that something's going to happen. It's like 20 minutes into the movie and there's no action scenes yet, so yeah, you know it's coming. But yes, basically, it's such a glaring error that it has to be brought up. You freaking got bombs in your car! The metal detectors will detect them! I mean, there's only so many bombs. They called MacGyver in or something, and he made a few bombs out of chewing gum and a pack of cigarettes or something. Seriously, how much metal or lack of metal do you have in a bomb that can go through checkpoints and be fine? Seriously, there can't. It's not logical. It's not common sense. A bomb is made of something that will make metal detectors go off. No matter what kind of bomb it is. I mean, it's so stupid. And then I thought, oh boy, this is Jaws 4 all over again. Here we go. This is going to be a fun movie. And then it completely switched. Yeah, we got a car chase here, which lasted about 3 minutes too long for me. Because it felt like, and there was no flow to it either. It's just the good guys are trying to get away from the bad guys, but that's about it. They're not really going anywhere, and they're not really, there's no consequence really yet to anything that we figured out, but yeah. And the car chase had a few good stunts, and not a whole lot of CGI, but there was later on quite a bit of CGI. Not enough to make me sit up and take direct notice of it, but it was enough to make me, think, okay, what's going on here? They have $125 million. Are they seriously going to put all of it into the computer? It wasn't that bad, no. But I think it did have its problems here and there as far as overuse of CGI or just plain usage of CGI. They could have done a little bit more of it live, but they did do quite a bit. There were a few car explosions that were for real explosions. A few like building, like bomb, smaller grenades and bombs going off that I'm pretty sure they were real. Maybe they were amplified a little bit, but by technology, but. For sure they shot them for real, and then there was different scenes like that I thought, oh, if they can keep this up, then this won't be so bad. But as far as pure action goes, it's not bad action, but it just after a while it gets so repetitive that you can, to the second, tell when the gun's gonna go off, and no, not just because. Yeah, you can predict that, but just because you know when the fight's going to happen, you know when the helicopter's going to explode, you know when the car bomb's going to go off, you figure it out before the film notices that you can figure it out, which is frustrating for me, for a lot of viewing experiences in action films like those. Let's see, and then the tone is like way different, so that by the second and third acts, it's now a buddy picture. Now it's Lethal Weapon, except it's John McClane and John McClane Jr. And then the first act is just completely different, though. It's almost like they brought a totally different writer, totally different director to the second and third act, and left the first act like a commercial, basically. And you had a pointless scene before that. You've seen it in a lot of the commercials with Bruce Willis in this cabbie was completely filler. That seriously, I mean, the movie's short enough as it is. It's like an hour and 30, I think I clocked it at an hour 32 minutes without credits. That's by far, that's like 40 minutes shorter than the original Die Hard. And it kind of at times, you know, it flowed a little bit. You could tell that time was passing by and there wasn't too much left. Like I said in a lot of my other reviews, I look at my watch quite a bit at the movies, and a lot of it I say is, okay, I want to know at what point do we get to this scene, to this transition, and so on. How far are we into this? Just to check my watch, just to, you know, just to see what's going on. Like I clock like a certain moment in a different film, and I'll say, okay, that's, you know, yeah, whatever. At the 40-minute point, at the 50-minute point, at the 30-minute point, whatever it is. Here, a lot of the time I was checking it because I was like, okay, how much time left? Okay, well, half an hour, okay. And we'll get to the villains here now. The villains were complete schoolyard, basic bullies, and that was about it. None of that, like, their objectives were really basic. Their plans were practically not even there. I mean, they were just so underdeveloped that it was almost like a like you could put in, I don't know, it's almost indescribably bad how bad the villains were. And a lot of people say, well, the action film is only as good as its villain. If that's the case, this is one of the worst action movies ever made. I mean, the villains in this film are just so dumb and diluted to the lowest common denominator of thinking processes in villain history that it's almost demeaning. And a lot of it's just irrelevant to the whole point we're there, which is, of course, we want to see Bruce Willis, you know, dropping F-bombs and blowing crap up. But what I look for is also a good villain in that, and there's no good villains here. The acting was only okay. I thought Bruce Willis did okay. You could tell he was there. He was having fun, and at times he kind of was he was into it a little bit, and he started to kind of capture the essence of John McClane, which is good. But then Jai Courtney as his son, John Jr., I just couldn't get onto him. He wasn't Jar Jar Binks bad, but he was kind of Shia LaBeouf bad from the last Indiana Jones film. Except I think I liked Shia LaBeouf a little better. Here, this guy, I just couldn't believe him in the role. And I don't think it's his acting. It's just number one, the way his character speaks, and number two, just the way he delivered his lines from probably poor direction. Was just so bad that a lot of the times you almost pray that his son gets shot so that John McClane can just do this by himself. And there were actually a couple of nice one-liners kind of with John McClane, which is "I'm on vacation" and stuff like that. That were, you know, predictable, but at the same time you're kind of like, at least, you know, Bruce Willis has got something here for us that we can enjoy a little bit. So yeah. I think literally from this point on, I could only pinpoint like certain little things here and there that totally bothered me. For example, I didn't really like how this film, you know, it's almost advertised as a return to form for the Die Hard franchise. You know, you've got the R rating back, you've got a few characters back, like the John Jr. character we haven't seen since he was a toddler in the first film. He was irrelevant there, and here he's kind of somewhat irrelevant. You could basically throw in John McClane just on vacation, and he gets thrown into the mix, and then informed by a different CIA agent who then gets killed or something, like they did in the film, and then that's it. But and then from there, he's just, okay, well, I'll try to get out of here, but at the same time, I don't want them to, you know, get back to me or whatever, you know, a few months later, like they did in the third film that I did in this stupid series or something. But yeah, I really thought that that this would be a return to form, and they didn't really do their research at all. They didn't do their homework when they were trying to look back. They found, well, obviously, like I mentioned, there's one point where they like completely rip off the first film in a way that's so elementary, so basic, and then they do finish it off with a little twist, but it's not all that. Didn't really like it, didn't really save it. And then it just didn't feel like a Die Hard movie all that often. And I haven't seen the fourth one, so I can't compare it to this next one here, Die Hard 5. But I don't know. At this point, this review could just go on forever, and I could mention how the ending doesn't really link up. I started to get bored by about the last 20-25 minutes. I was just like, okay, there's got to be something here that'll supercharge me to the end. Like the last Die Hard, pretty much the last half hour was just adrenaline pumping, action, explosions and stuff. Die Hard 2 had moments like that, yes, where it was completely like that. The third Die Hard of the Vengeance, had that as well. This one, it was just kind of, you know they're going to fight. You know they're going to fight. Why aren't they fighting yet? Why aren't they fighting yet? Oh, okay, they'll do practically a 5-minute fight scene and then the movie's going to be over. And a lot of that was just, And you get the reverse Indiana Jones effect, which I don't really like. I didn't care for, and there were no like Indiana Jones jokes in the film. That would be really, really low for the film. That'd be a new low for the Die Hard franchise. But thank God there wasn't. Where I'm not even going to talk about it because it's pointless anyways. It's filler, and it's trying, and I think the movie thinks it's a little bit smarter than it is. It knows it's not going to get away with it. It knows it's not going to cut it. The director and the writer I think they just took this as a project and said in this way. They said, "Oh, look, it's a 5th Die Hard movie. That means it'll be big bucks because people want to come back and see a Die Hard movie. It's got the franchise name on it, which means it'll make money. It's got Bruce Willis in it, which means people will recognize him. It'll make money. It's got action in it. That'll make money. This will be a total cash flow." The first films, they had a basic storyline. We'll put in an even basicer storyline because we know that'll make sense, and we know that'll build up the big bucks too, especially worldwide because overseas they love that crap, and all this other stuff that you're just like, what's the point? And I can't do this. I don't know. It's not a great film. I don't really recommend it all that highly. If you're an absolute must-see Die Hard fan of this series, fan of Die Hard, then okay, you've probably seen it already, but yeah, go ahead and see it if you haven't, just to see how, it's not a case where, like Jaws 4, Superman 4, Batman and Robin, where you go back and watch it again just to say, oh, how bad was that movie again? Oh, it was that bad. Okay. It's not as bad as that. I put it on the same level as like Clash of the Titans from 2010 or I don't know. Stuff like that. But Bruce Willis made another film not too long ago called Surrogates, which I saw, and that was just flat out dumb. That was just one of the most ridiculous things, and it also had quite a few logical errors in that, and it wasn't very well paced, and the action was not there, and it was advertised as an action film, and it looks like it's going to be an action film, and the ending was just flat out stupid. It's not as bad as Surrogates. That one I would probably give 0 out of 10. I absolutely hated that film. And seriously, about halfway through, I told myself, why am I watching this? And I kind of, for a second, I was seriously considering stopping the movie and just saying, I'm fed up with this. But then I said, okay, it'll get better. It's got to get better. It's Bruce Willis. There's going to be a few action scenes here or something. And then they got there and they were over with as soon as they started. And then I was fed up. I was so angry. But at the same time, I was kind of depressed when I watched that movie because it's that bad. It's so bad that depression slips in because Bruce Willis, he's better than this. He's made Die Hard. He's made The Fifth Element. He's made Pulp Fiction. He had a supporting role in Pulp Fiction. He's made other good films. So stick with those. And as far as Die Hard movies go, as far as sequels go, get a screenwriter. Don't just hire a guy who has a basic story and then say, okay, well, we'll fix it when we get on there. And I checked, and I think his name was Skip Woods or something. He was also executive producer. That frightens me. That frightens me. That means that he not only wrote the script, he basically owned this movie. He's basically helping this movie along. I don't want another film from Skip Williams where he writes or produces. No. And John Moore, I've looked up his filmography, and his films, his films have never gotten good reviews anyways, but I checked, and each film, as they progress, gets weaker reviews, and weaker reviews, and weaker reviews, and now the new Die Hard is the weakest reviews of all. I think he just needs to drop out of Hollywood and just go live a different life. I don't know. But yes, is this in the same vein as, say, Bullet to the Head, or The Last Stand, or Parker, which are films from action stars that usually make good bucks? This is Die Hard. It's got the franchise name on it. It's got a good advertising push. It's got a lot of theater. It's got a high theater count. This isn't gonna bomb. No. In the theater I was in, it was kind of toward halfway full, which is a good thing. Because there was also a basketball game tonight in my hometown, which means a lot of people aren't going to go to the movies, which is, you know, whatever. You know, they have their choice there. But, and then it's also Valentine's Day. See, Safe Haven was also playing, and I know that's going to make a little bit of money this weekend too. But Die Hard's going to beat it because it can satisfy the male audience, and the female audience has their movie. They'll only drag a couple of guys to it. Most of the guys will say, see ya, and then they'll go see Die Hard. I think both of them are about close to the same length, so that works out for them. But yes, Die Hard. Good Day to Die Hard. I give it 4 out of 10. I say don't really go see it unless you absolutely have to and you're dying to see this. But the whole reason I would see it was because I'm a Die Hard fan myself. I like Bruce Willis in this role. I think he should continue this role, but he should definitely, I think you get the sense that he can get into his character in the movie, but behind the scenes, you can tell he's not all that excited. He doesn't really believe in this script. I think he should just take a step forward and say, look, I think we should make this Die Hard 6. A lot of people have been saying, well, if it's a Die Hard 6, it better be the last one, because 6 is a good number to end on. Like the original Star Trek series ended on 6 films. The Star Wars saga is 6 films, which now they're going to do 7, 8, 9, but I'm trying to think what else. Like, the Twilight Saga, as ridiculous as I'm going to make this, had 5, which is close to 6, but that franchise sucks anyways, so don't end it on 5. The Superman films, right now there's 5 of them. They're going to make a 6th one, but don't end it on 5. Definitely keep going with this, but make it good. Do your homework. Check out what made the first films so good. Isolate Bruce Willis. Don't have him jumping all over Moscow and all over parts of Russia and all that. Just have him, okay, he doesn't have to be stuck in another skyscraper. He doesn't have to be stuck in another airport. He doesn't have to be stuck working for a terrorist. Just make him stuck like a, I don't know. Make it interesting. Don't make it a skyscraper. Don't do the same story over again. That's about as bad as you can go. That's as demeaning as you can get. So yeah, I think I'll sign off and say, probably don't go see Good Day to Die Hard. It's a good day to stay home. Definitely. It's a good day to just sit back, watch whatever's on TV, which is nothing these days. Watch a rerun of something. Matter of fact, here I'll make a little side note here. I just found on Netflix a series created just for Netflix called House of Cards with Kevin Spacey. And I've only seen like the first episode and a half of this. I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm watching the rest of this series because this is a good series. And it's directed by David Fincher, so of course I had to check it out sooner or later. And Kevin Spacey so far is really, really good in this. So yes, I definitely recommend that, but I don't really recommend A Good Day to Die Hard.